You know, nowadays it seems like everything we want to buy or need is costing more while the product either stays the same or becomes 10 times worse and more unusable. Either quantities are reduced or some ingredients are added to whatever we are buying and somehow becomes worse. Companies cutting corners at every turn, just trying to make some quick money off of you. And it doesn't just stop there. This has sadly and rapidly infected video games and the quality of video games. But I feel like it truly started with zombie games and the boom they had, and just how relatively easy it seems to be to code zombies and make a game around it. So that's what I'm gonna be talking about today. So hello everyone, welcome back and welcome to my channel. If you are new here, be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. It really helps out a lot. With that being said, let's get in it.
Yeah, boy.
So the first thing I want to talk about within the topic is as to why there's so many zombie games and so much slop in the genre, and how it went from being a fun, interesting and more complex genre to the games that we have right now that crowd the genre. So starting off, I'd say that in the 90s to 2000s, there was a lot of games which featured zombies in them, like Resident Evil games most famously, but not really the zombies that we are more accustomed to right now. The ones for Resident Evil were more scary and monster-like experiments and less human like we have right now. All that's to say that up until like the late 2000s, 2008-9, there wasn't really a genre for zombie games that solely focused on the zombies and the survival as being like a duality of the like main structure of the game, the main focus of the game. And it really truly started popping off when the Walking Dead show started airing and becoming more popular and changing how people saw zombies and what the average zombie would look like for more people. It was much different from movies like 28 Days Later, Zombieland and all the other stuff that came before. But I really think that The Walking Dead's premiere really made developers want to make a zombie game and something that could ride that rising popularity wave of the show and interest in zombies. I feel like it's allowed more developers to stop overthinking the concept of a zombie game and just dumb it down so that it's easier for people to digest and just play the game without thinking. The zombies nowadays feel like such a gimmick more than something unique. Even in movies, shows and everything, they feel very like a default enemy to add for the audience or just to give the main characters something to fight other than actually try making it interesting. They are lazy and oversaturated as hell. There is no innovation for them anymore that can make them feel as they did before. And then there's always that generic predictable horde mechanic that's in every zombie game, cause that's the only way these developers know how to make them feel like a threat or have any sort of danger to us. It's predictable and loses its impact after the first sort of couple of hordes you encounter. And it's always either taking out the whole horde and wiping them out or hiding from them. It's always one of those two things that we do in these games. If it's survival, horror, action, story driven, it feels dull. And my next point ties into this well, cause all these games seem to have a creative drought, creative stagnation, starvation, creative debt or whatever. It's the same shit different day. Even when it comes to zombies having those different variants I mentioned, it's always those same variants: bloaters, boomers, sprinters, chargers, spitters, tanks and the screamers, and whatever name they give them is always going to be that same sort of prototype that they have. They are always confined to these variants and never anything that's truly innovative and out of the ordinary. And I kind of want to tie this into the sort of shift and string away that all developers collectively decided to make zombies not scary anymore, or at least not as scary as they used to be, and also taking them out of the horror genre and just putting them into where they feel like putting them. Zombies nowadays barely feel scary at all, unless they are super soldier zombies or shrinking zombies or just zombies from The Last of Us, and having all these different variants. Even The Walking Dead show introduced new variants of zombies to try and keep them more interesting and keep the viewers that they have left intrigued in the show. None of it feels tense anymore. It's basically just going from point A to point B, maybe killing some zombies along the way, then running into a group you have to fight, then zombies come in and actually be a threat whenever the plot or game needs it to be. And that's lame as hell to me, because there's so much more potential to them that could make them more compelling no matter how slow or which type of variant zombies they are. I kind of think it's a balancing act where you have to be able to balance the threat of zombies being an actual and scary real danger, and also the threat of other survivors and communities and such, and also with survivors maybe even show more cowardly and complex survivors to make it feel more real. So nowadays in zombie games, we maybe get a couple of missions in the games or scenarios that we find ourselves in that are genuinely scary. The last time we got interesting, really wild and different types of zombie variants was in the Evil Within 2, where the zombies were really crazy, grotesque creatures that could actually make you feel scared. I remember when the game came out and I was watching the Shogun himself, Hori Kenshin, play the game, and even though I was not playing and experiencing it myself, I still felt really scared of those types of zombies. Also, if you know me, and I don't think I ever told anyone about this, but that's where the idea for the Limeade video came from. So if you know, you know, and if you don't get it, forget about it. Anyways, back to the zombies. They also had really interesting takes on the variations in the Resident Evil games with infected zombie plants, lizard men, and insect-like humanoids. We even got infected dogs and the very well-known world-known lickers, and even more unique and weird unpredictable creatures going from Resident Evil 3 up until Resident Evil 6. And these different variations which the Resident Evil games had gave fear through unpredictability of which type of zombie you're gonna have to fight and what you're gonna have to deal with next. But also the designs were cool and scary as hell. And now I guess it's time to talk about the boring part of things, the business and developer and publisher and studios part of things. So with the commodification of games in general, having lower quality, overpriced DLC, and just unfinished base mechanics in the game in an effort to squeeze out more profit from you, we knew of course it would spread to zombie games and be quite easy for these companies to do. And due to how relatively easy as opposed to complex human enemies it is to code slow walking zombies as enemies, or maybe the other variants I mentioned, into a game and be more cost efficient for them while still delivering a game for people to play. Cheaper assets can be used, rush releases, and a whole lot of other compromises can be made in order to just churn out the game. And I can't lie, sometimes it can be fun for a little bit of time, but these games aren't really worth it. Whether it's the price or bugs, glitches, or just the plain quality of the game, it will never feel fulfilling and like a zombie game that we deserve. And I say the reason as to why this has become so prevalent is because of risk aversion by most studios out there, even indie developers. Most studios and game devs spend a lot of money out there to create these games, and obviously they want it to be a hit and be big as hell. So more often than not, they'd rather just be better off making a game that's safe for them and not pushing any limits that could potentially lose a big audience base for them. And for zombies, well, the more docile and less actual complex ones are cheaper and budget friendly and code friendly enemies that they can make and put into the game. It feels like developers nowadays are more scared than ever to experiment with this idea, this concept of zombies and the multiple layers of horror that they could represent. So with most of the zombie game developers just sticking to the formula that works and has been working for years, and it being a fairly easy one for people to, you know, copy and just be able to make games way faster than other games, that leaves us with a genre full of, or at least a good majority of the genre being basic zombie games, horde shooters, survival games with no real depth, and all the other lame things that contribute to it being more seen as a slop-filled genre than an actual complex and deep genre for people to actually, you know, take a look inside and see just how many different things that, you know, these creatures of mythos, these creatures of so many tales and so many memories, and you know, just these creatures that kind of reflect the fear of death that we have, that can really have so many ways you can make them, and you know, just look at it differently and just give it some proper depth, and you know, just it's just interesting. And that sucks because it's just boiled down to these basic things that can't really or never really want to go further into it, and I guess that just makes me feel, you know, a bit sad. But another thing that really sucks and hurts is sort of the deceptive trailers and marketing for some of these games, and how often it has become, whether using AI generated footage to pass off as gameplay footage for players, or using rendered footage that isn't entirely representative of the game. And then when the game does come out, it's full of bugs, unplayable, online only, but no servers are up because no one is playing the game, or it's just really unstable. It just really sucks that this genre has been pulled down all the way from the heights of Resident Evil games, Telltale's The Walking Dead, Project Zomboid, enjoy Days Gone, The Last of Us, Dying Light, and some other great games out there that I'm probably forgetting to mention. But don't give up just yet, cause there is a tiny bit of hope, a little light at the end of the tunnel for us who like zombie games, and I mean truly like and enjoy the zombie games that come out. There's this game I've been following for a while cause it reminded me of Splinter Cell Blacklist and how I really want another Splinter Cell game. It's called Mudang Two Hearts, and I think it can be a really interesting game given how it's presented. I saw that it has some zombie elements mixed to that sort of Splinter Cell, you know, espionage, spy, stealth gameplay as well. So I'm very excited for it and very interested to see how it turns out. And to be honest, it looks really good, and I want it to be very good. It looks amazing. It looks very like blending two of my favorite genres together. And this isn't a plug for the game, but it is a plug for my next video, which I'm doing on Splinter Cell. But I don't want to spoil it, but all I'm gonna say is stay tuned. Anyway, there's still some zombie games coming out that I hope can finally get it right and make this genre fun again and more diverse. There's State of Decay 3, which I hope they can just nail it this time, cause State of Decay 2 was okay, it was mediocre, but it wasn't really there yet. They were trying to, you know, do something that, you know, hasn't actually been attempted, and they got to the point where it's been okay and just mediocre enough for people to enjoy it, but not really realize its full potential and how it can really be way better than what it is. There's also Resident Evil Requiem, obviously, you know, continuing Resident Evil. Dying Light the Beast, John Carpenter's Toxic Commando game, and probably some indie titles out there that I haven't seen yet or can't remember. But I do hope that these games can breathe life into the world and be good and interesting enough to be able to finally get it right this time and just be games that we want to play. But that's all I have to say for that though. So thank you all for watching and subscribing to the channel, man. It's been crazy. I'm aiming to get to 400 subscribers by the end of this month, so if you haven't subscribed yet, a subscription would be very appreciated. But thank you guys truly. That's all for the and that's all for today, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So bye.